The Princess of Wales was all smiles for her first Commonwealth Day appearance in 2 years, looking radiant in red for the service. Buckingham Palace's glittering hallways have long been home to quiet rivalries, hidden tensions, and carefully orchestrated public displays. But in recent weeks, that polished image has started to crack. This time, because of a growing political storm aimed directly at Queen Camilla. What began as murmurs among backbench lords and whispers on British social media has now turned into something far more serious. In a rare move that shocked both Parliament and the Palace, the House of Lords voted to strip Camilla's extended family of royal status and privileges. Seen by many as a direct challenge to the Queen Consort's influence and behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Camilla's family, including her children Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, have never held official royal titles, but their proximity to the throne and the benefits that came with it have long sparked public resentment. Lavish security, exclusive access to royal residences, and rumors of honorary titles quietly handed out behind closed doors led many Britons to question why non-royal relatives should receive taxpayer-funded perks or ceremonial standing just because of a marriage. Since Camilla was crowned alongside Charles in the contentious 2023 coronation, her family's visibility and influence have grown, prompting speculation that the monarchy might be turning into a sham family enterprise. Parliament responded, driven by public outrage and discreet backing from reform-minded MPs, some said to support Prince William's vision for a leaner monarchy. The Lords passed a motion permanently blocking Camilla's children and grandchildren from receiving royal titles, honors, or public funding. Inside the palace, the fallout was immediate. Sources say Camilla was furious, leaving staff stunned, angering King Charles, and creating fresh tension with Prince William. One insider claimed Camilla sees this as a direct attack on her bloodline and suspects the future king may have quietly allowed it. To her, it wasn't just politics. It was a declaration of shifting power inside the monarchy. But before we continue, we'd love for you to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this video. If you just did, we truly appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the main content. For years, Camilla played the long game, rising from public disapproval to the Queen's throne, and her family's fortunes rose with hers. When she married Charles in 2005, most assumed her children would remain outside the royal sphere. But over time, Tom was seen at events usually reserved for close royals, dining with diplomats, mingling with aristocrats, and enjoying privileges like chauffeured cars, diplomatic courtesies, and occasional security protection. Laura kept a lower profile but still received priority seating at major royal events, with her children appearing at family-only gatherings and even in official photographs. Now, with Parliament's historic decision, all of that is under threat, and the question remains, has Queen Camilla finally pushed her luck too far? During national events, it wasn't just about access, it was symbolic. Camilla was quietly bringing her family into the royal fold, not through official announcements, but by ensuring their presence and participation in key moments. The British public noticed. For years, discussions in tabloids and on social media revolved around one question. Why were Camilla's children receiving royal treatment when they weren't royalty? The monarchy, after all, had always been rooted in bloodlines and duty, not by extension through marriage. For those who still cherish Princess Diana's memory, it felt like a betrayal, reshaping the royal hierarchy to serve Camilla's personal agenda. Royal insiders claim she lobbied for discreet titles or honors for her grandchildren in private. One senior palace aide, speaking anonymously, said there were genuine talks about Camilla wanting official recognition for her family, particularly her grandson. She believed it was part of her legacy. The whispers grew louder after the 2023 coronation, when Camilla insisted her grandchildren attend while Prince Harry's children were absent. That gesture ignited fury among critics, many of whom saw it as proof she favored her own lineage over the Windsor family. Even Princess Anne, known for her deep commitment to the crown, reportedly voiced mild concern. At one private event, she is said to have remarked, "I thought this was a monarchy, not a family reunion for the Shands." Though never officially confirmed, the comment went viral among royal watchers who had already sensed the tension. Behind closed doors, Prince William stayed cautious but observant. He never publicly criticized Camilla or her children, but insiders say he privately voiced dissatisfaction, believing the royal household had grown too bloated and strayed from its true purpose. Former advisors claim William and Kate supported a return to the monarchy's core principles: fewer titles, clearer boundaries, and an emphasis on duty over privilege. Then came the money issue. Reports surfaced that Camilla's family enjoyed taxpayer-funded security and other benefits, fueling public pressure on Parliament to act. Activists demanded transparency, questioning why public funds were indirectly supporting non-royal relatives. The timing was politically explosive. With the UK grappling with economic hardships and greater scrutiny on spending, whispers began to circulate in Westminster. If the palace wouldn't fix the problem, Parliament might. What had once been a quiet, manageable issue was now a full-blown constitutional and PR crisis. The Shands' steady rise had become a glaring symbol of unchecked royal privilege, and at the center was Queen Camilla, whose determination to secure a legacy for her family may have pushed the monarchy and the country too far. No one in the royal family had expected this outcome. While there had been months of quiet talk in Parliament, most assumed it would fizzle out like so many previous reform efforts. After all, the monarchy had weathered worse: divorces, scandals, even abdications. But this spring, events in the House of Lords took a decisive and personal turn. It began with a motion framed in the language of fiscal responsibility and constitutional clarity. Lord Halberton, a respected crossbench peer known for his no-nonsense approach to reform, tabled the motion under the formal title, "Review of State Privileges and Ceremonial Rights for Non-Blood Relatives of the Crown." The wording sounded dry, but its purpose was razor-sharp: a direct challenge to Queen Camilla's family. The proposal called for a permanent ban on awarding titles, ceremonial roles, or taxpayer-funded privileges to any monarch's relative not of royal blood or born into the Windsor line. Initially, some lords were hesitant. Interfering with the monarchy was still a sensitive matter. But public opinion had shifted. With the cost of living soaring, news of Camilla's relatives riding in state vehicles or attending royal briefings infuriated many. Polls showed over 70% of Britons opposed granting titles or benefits to non-blood royals. On social media, hashtags calling for royal reform began trending. Trending on X, formerly Twitter, the story was already dominating headlines, but behind closed doors, the pressure was even more intense. Government insiders revealed that key aides to Prince William quietly signaled support for a streamlined future for the monarchy. William said nothing publicly, but the implication was clear: he would not interfere. During the debate, several lords delivered blistering speeches accusing the royal institution of creeping nepotism and diluting the meaning of royal status. One stated, "This is not a country club for the Queen's cousins and step-grandchildren. It is a centuries-old institution rooted in lineage and service." The real shock inside palace circles wasn't that the motion was introduced. It was that it passed. The House of Lords voted overwhelmingly in favor. While largely symbolic, the measure carried real legislative weight. The Prime Minister's office announced it would recognize and enforce the decision, effectively ending any prospect of royal titles, ceremonial duties, or privileges for Camilla's relatives. Inside the palace, chaos broke out. Camilla, who had been expecting a peaceful summer filled with garden parties and charity engagements, was blindsided. Staff say she was devastated. Not only had she lost a public fight, she had been politically outmaneuvered. Worse still, she suspected the outcome had been engineered. But the deepest wound came from Charles's silence. Though reportedly deeply upset, he chose not to respond publicly to avoid igniting a constitutional crisis or damaging the monarchy's credibility. His silence, to Camilla, felt like abandonment. In one swift move, the House of Lords had redrawn the boundaries of royal privilege, stripped her family of its anticipated legacy, and sparked a power struggle that could reshape the monarchy. Prince William remained silent as events unfolded. He didn't need to speak. Camilla is often portrayed as calm, composed, and battle-tested, a woman who survived decades of public criticism and emerged triumphant with a crown. But according to insiders, there's another side to her, a fierce temper to match her ambition. When word of the Lord's decision reached Clarence House, that side surfaced with full force. Multiple palace staffers say her reaction was explosive. The Queen Consort allegedly hurled a porcelain vase against a marble fireplace, shattering it, before launching into a furious tirade that left staff frozen. She screamed at everyone, one source recalled. No one could get a word in. She kept shouting that they had humiliated her and degraded her family. Her anger wasn't just directed at Parliament. It extended to those closest to her. She berated her advisers for failing to anticipate the motion, chastised Charles's senior aides for allowing it to happen, and even offered to step back from public duties entirely if the matter wasn't reversed. The confrontation with Charles was the most dramatic. Camilla reportedly told him, through clenched teeth, "You're the king. Do something." Charles, however, is said to have replied, "There's nothing I can do, Camilla. This is Parliament, not court gossip." To Camilla, the issue was more than constitutional. It was personal. The exclusion of her children felt like an attack on her family and a direct threat to her legacy. According to one aide, she had always been determined to secure her family's place in royal history, and losing that publicly was, to her, a profound and unforgivable betrayal. She also reportedly believed she knew who was behind it. In her view, this was William's doing, and perhaps Catherine's as well. She allegedly accused the couple of orchestrating the move, claiming Catherine was smiling behind the scenes, relishing the outcome. To Camilla, it was a calculated power play by the future king and queen, and, worse, it was succeeding. In private, she is said to have compared William's actions to Diana's, accusing him of trying to erase her from the monarchy, just as she believed Diana once tried to erase her from Charles's life. She allegedly referred to Catherine as a calculating actress, whose charm concealed ruthless ambition. The tirade left even seasoned palace staff shaken. Some requested transfers or considered leaving altogether after being caught in the fallout. Others warned that Camilla's fury was far from over. Behind the palace gates, concerns over Camilla's state of mind began to grow. Some insiders claimed she was in such a volatile emotional state that she should remain out of sight until the controversy subsided. King Charles, meanwhile, was said to be visibly shaken. One confidant admitted he had never seen his wife so unsettled, not even during the height of the Diana years. But unlike in the past, Charles could no longer afford impulsive decisions. Now he was king, and for the first time in his reign, the throne itself seemed powerless. Camilla's fury eventually gave way to a darker, brooding silence. She canceled public appearances, withdrew from private engagements, and began speaking not of recovery, but of revenge. The Queen Consort had been wounded, but she was far from finished. Yet this time, her miscalculation was fatal. She believed her outrage would scare Parliament into backing down. Instead, it only emboldened them. Her outburst solidified support among reformers and transformed what began as a symbolic rebuke into a pointed challenge to the monarchy's unchecked privilege, particularly her own influence. In an unusual step, senior peers convened a follow-up session to cement the decision into a formal parliamentary recommendation. Camilla's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, along with their offspring, would be permanently excluded from any future royal honors, taxpayer-funded security, or ceremonial roles. Their ties to the monarchy would be purely personal, carrying no institutional weight. The language in the decision was strikingly blunt. The crown must not be diluted by patronage born of marriage, nor extended to those whose only connection to it is personal rather than constitutional. The reaction outside Westminster was immediate. Crowds cheered, editorials applauded the ruling as a rare act of accountability, and social media lit up with calls to end royal nepotism and strip the shands. For years, Britain had grumbled about the monarchy's excesses, but now someone had finally acted. Parliament hadn't just warned, it had delivered a blow. The deeper message behind closed doors was even clearer. The old rules no longer applied. For centuries, the monarchy had relied on tradition and deference to maintain its standing. Parliament may have held technical supremacy, but it seldom wielded it. Now, fueled by public anger and political upheaval, Westminster had drawn a definitive line and dared the crown to cross it. Still stunned by the outcome, Camilla pressed Charles for a formal rebuttal. She wanted the king to publicly label the Lord's decision as overreach, but the ever-cautious monarch refused. Aware of the monarchy's fragile standing in the wake of the Sussex drama, Prince Andrew's disgrace, and growing resentment over royal extravagance, Charles reportedly told her, "We can't win this war. Not now." This left Camilla isolated once more. Even the palace's press team, often aligned with her, declined to go on the offensive. There would be no public defense, no push for sympathy. The consensus inside the palace was that the Shand family was no longer part of the monarchy's future. The harshest blow came when Camilla learned that William had known about the motion in advance and had done nothing to stop it. Royal observers called it one of the most deliberate silences in modern royal history. With a single choice to remain still, William strengthened his bond with the public and the institution, while undercutting Camilla's legacy without direct confrontation. Her once loyal media allies began to fall away. Journalists who once praised her as a modernizing force now refused to comment. She was being quietly shut out, not just by Parliament, but by the very machinery that had helped elevate her. Kate, too, remained silent. But in her case, that silence carried its own quiet power. While Camilla seethed behind closed doors and Charles wrestled with indecision, Catherine, Princess of Wales, stood apart, calm, composed, and untouched by the turmoil. She issued no public statement, avoided the headlines, and appeared only briefly in public, smiling at events, greeting children, and walking alongside William with her usual grace. Yet those who know her say she was anything but detached. Many palace insiders claim she had foreseen public resentment toward Camilla's family privileges long before Parliament acted, and had understood exactly how the tide would turn. In private strategy meetings with senior royal aides and trusted advisors, Kate reportedly stressed the importance of tightening the monarchy's spending and safeguarding its image. She recognized that during an economic downturn, the British public would not tolerate excess from unelected, unrelated beneficiaries. So she stayed silent and let public opinion speak for her. When the House of Lords passed the resolution stripping Camilla's family of royal privileges, many interpreted Kate's quiet as tacit approval. The next morning, photographers captured her leaving a charity event in a white coat dress, hair neatly swept into a bun, wearing the faintest of smiles, an image the press eagerly embraced. It was the portrait of a serene future queen, calmly navigating a storm beyond her control. Privately, some sources claim Kate discreetly encouraged reform-minded MPs, through intermediaries, to review and clarify royal roles for the sake of long-term stability. There was nothing direct, nothing traceable, but the timing of certain meetings and the consistency of messaging did not appear coincidental. One former aide put it bluntly, "Kate doesn't make noise, she makes moves." Those close to Prince William believe she has been both his moral compass and political mirror, reminding him that their strength lies in duty, not drama. While Camilla pressured Charles in desperation over her family's predicament, Kate stood firmly behind William and said only one thing: Let the public decide what matters. And the public's verdict was clear. Kate's image emerged stronger than ever. Royal commentators began referring to her as the crown's quiet architect, a woman who could reshape the monarchy without breaking its rules. Online praise surged. Diana would be proud. Kate is what a queen should be. Grace wins over greed. Even inside palace walls, loyalties began to shift. Staff who once sided with Camilla started requesting transfers to William and Kate's team. "They see where the real power is heading," said one insider. Then came whispers of the inevitable question. If Charles were to pass or step down, what would Queen Catherine's reign look like? The answer was consistent. Leaner, more focused, more popular. A monarchy grounded in purpose rather than pretense. For Camilla, being overshadowed by Kate was no longer a fear. It was reality. Not through scandal or confrontation, but through contrast. Camilla had sought power through proximity and favor. Kate gained it through patience, composure, and public trust. On the very day Parliament voted against Camilla's family, Kate was seen at a children's hospice, placing flowers on the lap of a terminally ill child. The photograph went viral, not for political reasons, but because it felt genuine. That is Kate's greatest advantage. She doesn't need to fight. She only needs to be present. And in the midst of a constitutional upheaval, the future queen not only endured, but prevailed. As the dust settled from one of the most dramatic royal shakeups in recent memory, Camilla stood alone. Stripped not of her crown, but of something more personal, her legacy. The House of Lords' decision to sever royal privileges from the Shand family sent shockwaves through the institution, but the deepest impact was felt inside the palace. The family that had been quietly moving into ceremonial prominence was now permanently excluded. No titles, no roles, no place in the monarchy's future. In that future, there is little room for sentiment. Charles, once Camilla's staunchest defender, has grown quieter. The strain of the crown, whispers of scandal, and constant comparisons to William and Kate's rising popularity have left him diminished. He now faces the reality that public loyalty has shifted to the next generation of sovereigns in waiting. Camilla, once triumphant in her decades-long ascent from mistress to queen, now holds the title without the influence. She has lost the public, her sway over royal policy, and perhaps most painfully, the fight for her family's place in history. Meanwhile, Kate Middleton's star has never shone brighter. The Princess of Wales navigated this crisis with precise restraint. Her stillness was her strategy, her smile the signal. To millions, she embodies the monarchy's best ideals: dignity, dedication, and a heartfelt connection with the people. William and Kate didn't orchestrate Camilla's downfall. They simply stood back and watched her ambitions collapse under their own weight. The monarchy is moving into a new era. Camilla may still wear the crown beside Charles, but William and Kate are the kingdom's true center of gravity. Parliament may have struck the first blow, but it was the future queen's quiet, calculated presence that sealed the outcome. And now, as Camilla gazes from the windows of Clarence House, she must face what the rest of the world already knows. The queen stands alone. The monarchy has been rewritten.